Alright, so apparently defending 6-pool just... I don't know. It never seems to work for me, but you seem to have it down. Any other tips that you can give us on this one?
Let's see. As the 6-pool E, always send your drones ahead of your Zerglings, I guess. As far as defending it, you know, you really just want to, you know, either delay, like by running around with your drones as long as possible until you can buy enough time for your Zerglings to get up. And once your Zerglings are up, you still, once again, want to be tanking with drones just because, you know, Zerglings have higher DPS, lower HP, whereas, you know, the drones have lower DPS, higher HP, so you want them to be tanking for the Zerglings. Always, ZVZ, especially on a 2-player map, when you see an extremely early drone scout, be wary about that spine crawler. If that spine crawler gets up, you're pretty much toast.
Yeah.
There's no way you can go about defending that.
So if the spine crawler finishes, it's GG.
Yeah, another thing, you have to stop drone production once you scout the actual 6-pool, so you wouldn't want to continue to, you know, keep making drones, keep wasting resources on that. You want to just save your larva up, save your supply to make those Zerglings immediately as your pool finishes.
Really?
Yep.
What do you say to the folks that have like, oh, well, I saw a fruit dealer defend 6-pool with 18 drones?
It's definitely possible. Like I think that's the weakness of 6-pools in this game, is that Zerglings are actually so weak that, you know, drones at that point in the game are more efficient at fighting just because you have a lot more of them.
Right.
That's why I was going to do the 15 hatchery to defend the 6-pool, just because you can actually defend 6-pools only with drones.
Wow. All right. Well, cool. I think that kind of does a good little synopsis of we had a little bit of standard stuff, a little bit of cheesy stuff. It's a good way to top off our week, man. So let's go ahead and hit a few of these questions.
Okay.
And then I will set you on your way.
All right.
All right, machine. Bum, 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 bum. All right. This might not be the most clear question ever, but just bear with me.
Okay.
Zerg players don't always seem to have the best responses to cheese. And I think all Zerg players struggle with this. Do you think this is just an inherent weakness of the race? Or are there safe, yet-to-be-discovered builds that will counter all known cheese of today?
There's no build that's going to counter all known cheese of today. Like, 90% of defending cheese is purely from scouting it and being able to adjust your build and have a build that is adjustable enough to deal with all these different scenarios. So, you know, there's no one safe build that's going to, you know, give you decent enough an economy and be able to, you know, kind of deal with all these different angles early on. So, you know, you really have to just be aware, like be scouting, and be adjustable.
Okay. Also, if possible, without just telling me to practice more, how can I stop missing my injects? Practice more.
Honestly, a lot of it for me was I just would sit down and play, you know, like an hour-long game against a computer where I would just constantly focus on injecting like 5 different bases at the perfect timing. And you really just kind of want to run that through your head enough to where you kind of have that timing down without even thinking about it. And so it just becomes a reaction. So if you do this thousands and thousands of times, you'll have it down. And you won't even have to, you know, be thinking about it, like I said.
How about getting like an MP3 that says "inject now, damn it," and just putting it on every 30 seconds and just walking around like that for a month?
That'd work, actually. I don't know.
And then for the rest of your life, you're walking around with this nervous tick where every 30 seconds you freak out.
Yeah, exactly. D, left click.
Machine, do you feel that in order to become a better player, you need to play and practice cheesy builds? And does the knowledge behind these builds help me become better, or is it just some gimmick?
Yes, I do definitely recommend practicing your cheese. And no, cheese is not gimmicky at all. You know, cheese is really just a way of varying your play. And as I was going over earlier, you know, punishing players who are cutting corners, let's say, in their build to where they are getting these sort of advantages against you. Now, that doesn't mean go ahead and cheese, 90% of your games that you're playing. You still want to have a very solid, understanding of the game, very solid play, very solid, like, macro-oriented builds, but you need to throw it in there. It's a necessity. You can't just rely upon the same exact build each and every single game.
Yeah. I didn't always agree with that, but after these past couple weeks, and as I feel like I've sort of maybe stepped up my play, one level closer to you pros. I really do. I should show you
That's
some
good.
of these replays, man. My play lately has been pretty fucking sick.
That's good.
But it's really sort of changed my perspective, and I do agree that you have to mix it up. Hello, Machine. In PvT, denying the Terran third is an extremely important thing to do, which he did not say. Shame on you for typos. And oftentimes, doing so gives me a rather easy macro victory. However, I've had a lot of problems against Protoss users, specifically denying their third. I find myself in these positions where I have to either go all in, fighting to keep him on 2 bases, or I saturate my fourth and end up fighting a 3-base toss. This is something very similar to what we saw actually in our first game tonight. What do you feel is the best way to deal with this kind of stuff?
Well, there's sort of 2 ways to go about it. A lot of Zergs, like Sheth, mainly, they play an extremely aggressive, extremely roach-heavy Zerg, where they're basically in your face 24/7. They're preventing you from taking that third, and really just trying to contain you on those 2 bases early on, just with an extremely good sort of macro and a lot of pressure. But if you do kind of allow them to get that third, get that fourth, and you play more of the passive style, you need to make sure that you have the tech to back it up, meaning Broodlords and Banelings. You can't ever really allow that Protoss to get that fourth base and get it saturated because they're just going to be remaxing too quickly. So I'd say, you got to just be in their face, but sometimes you're not really going to be able to go ahead and actually prevent them from taking that fourth, in which case you need to be, right there with the tech to back it up.
Okay. A couple more questions, and then we will let you on your way. Does Machine ever use Nidus play, and in what way does he use them? Do you ever rush for them? I've thought of using them to reinforce an army's position if it's too far away. I've thought about using it to retreat. I've thought about using it to go all in. What are your thoughts?
I used to use it to go all in a lot. When it was first kind of popular, I did a lot of one-base plays, especially on maps where I'd get walled in my main, like by cannons or bunkers or something like that. Lately, I generally just use it on maps that have islands, like Lost Temple, to go ahead and take, both the island bases, defend them, prevent, typically it's going to be a Terran player, prevent them from taking those island bases extremely late game. As far as being aggressive with them, I do get them sometimes, but only kind of to harass like a Protoss or Terran's fourth base or so. It makes it a lot easier than constantly having to drop with Overlords, do Baneling drops and things like that. If it makes it simpler if I can just go ahead, roll a few Roaches and a few Banelings in there to take out a mineral line or something like that.
Cool. Cool. Alright, one more question, and I will let you check out. In
All right.
ZVZ, I find difficulty identifying when my opponent stops drone production and is massing units. Sometimes when the game ends, I'll find I made 40 drones to his 20. And this is a common problem in ZVZ. It's just hard to know what the other guy's up to. So do you have any suggestions on how to keep better track of the other player? Maybe some scouting tips?
Honestly, I'm almost constantly pressuring. Like, the only times I'll really be, in ZVZ in particular, the only time I'll really be droning up is if I'm doing some sort of a one-base roach play and I have no intention of taking an expansion, at least until I have, like a roach timing attack up. If I'm ever playing, 2-base Zerg versus 2-base Zerg, I'm constantly making units. Like, I'll drone until like my upgrades finish, like especially in 15 hatchery versus 15 hatchery ZVZ with the extremely like heavy Zergling Baneling play. I'll drone until Zergling speed's about halfway complete, and then I start Zergling production and I don't look back. Like, I'm constantly going to be building Zerglings until I either I'm able to run them over or choose to kind of fall back, transition off the build, in which case you have to have those spine crawlers to protect in case of any sort of early pressure that you might receive, or pressure after you've kind of fallen back. So it's a really situational